organic levers over the next couple of years in the company. So that's another reason why you might want to invest. Got some of the other people, again, very experienced in both large and small cap companies. Andrew Bostock came to us from Dana. Con Casey is the company secretary, accountant. Dave Scott is Burlington and ex-ConocoPhillips, very experienced in Algeria. He and his team, which he has brought to us, of about 20 people, have drilled more than 50 wells in Algeria. So they know what they're doing, and they're now on their second tranche of wells, drilling exclusively with us. Dermot Corcoran, head of exploration, ExxonMobil trained, again 20-25 years experience, all dyed in the wool oil and gas folk. I'll run through this really quickly because this is, pretty much any of the two companies before would want to have this aspiration, and so it's a little bit of teaching granny to suck eggs. We do have a geographical focus, and we are at the moment only concentrating on the Mediterranean basin, Middle East and North Africa. And that's really because we believe that if we have a shotgun approach globally, we're just not going to have the size and scale to cover it at this stage. So we stay within limited time zones, and we try and stay within limited distance of where our offices are. It's just pragmatic in terms of not burning out people or not getting yourself stretched too thin. We run on opportunities, so we're forever scouting, and we'll talk a bit about that towards the end. You've got a rather busy slide here, but it's not particularly complicated. This is a map of Algeria with the Mediterranean Sea at the top. This is where our asset is. It's about 1,500 kilometers south of the coast of Algiers. But as you can see, and as was mentioned particularly by John, but also by Brian, being close to infrastructure in any oil and gas proposition increases the NPV of the project enormously. And where we are, we're way down here in the southeast in the Elisi Basin, but we are close to BP's Anonymous field here to the east of us. We have Repsol oil fields here, and we have Total's TFT field within 60 kilometers. The most likely output for our project here is out through the TFT field, where there's a significant amount of ullage, as the Tintui Tabancourt Total field comes off plateau. Export routes. Algeria has got some of the lowest cost gas in Europe. It basically feeds Europe through the Transmed pipeline coming out through here in Tunisia and feeding up into Italy. And you've got the Medgas pipeline, which has just been completed between Algeria and Spain. You've got a number of LNG plants at Arzew, Skida, and then you've got the Galsi pipeline, which is currently being planned to run up through into Sardinia and on into Italy. So the price you get is a market-determined price, usually on an oil-based formula, and it's set by the cost of a portfolio of heavy crudes into southern Italy and into Spain. So you're talking sort of anywhere $5 to $7 per MMBtu for your gas. Cost to produce relative to Norway or relative to some of the Soviet gas is probably it's at the lower end of the cost curve. So a very attractive place to be able to establish yourself and to do business in. Assets on the right hand side, you've got a map of Italy, and we've got 3 targeted places here. We're not going to talk too much about them today. We have 11 licenses in the Central Adriatic. Most particularly, we have the operatorship and 55% of the Elsa discovery, which was an enterprise oil discovery made in 1992. And if anyone wants detail on it, John can talk about it till the cows come home later on. The discovery had never been developed further, and we were currently planning to re-drill the Elsa well as Elsa 2 to establish the 75-meter oil column that was drilled in 1992. So that could have anything up to 180, from 95 to 180 million barrels, and that's based on 3 independent person reports with regard to that. Rosavenda up in the northwest, Western Po Valley, very large 4-way tilted fault block, like the blocks that John was describing in Louisiana. Rovasenda is a prospect which we had 100%. E&I have come in for 47.5%, are looking to operate that. And as for those industry savvy folk, they'll know that E&I have put up a lot of their northern Italian assets for sale and are looking to reduce their impact in northern Italy. This is one of the assets that they kept, and we'll go through that a little bit later. Our third area is down here in the Sicily Channel, where we have 5 blocks basically on gas plays that have been discovered there recently. The block itself, we'll just talk a little bit about that. What you've got here is, this is the remaining area of the license agreement in this sort of mustard color. We drilled in 2009, 2010, we drilled 5 wells on this block, and we've been able to retain 4 areas to bring into an appraisal stage. The first 3 we'll say a little more about. It's Hassi Tab Tab here, INW and INE, all very good production rates of sort of barrels of oil equivalent, sort of 2,000 to 3,000 barrels a day. They're Devonian in structure, but not very material in terms of size of reserves, sort of 200 to 400 BCF wet gas fields. This Ain Silla structure here is, if you put it is first of all one contiguous structure. It's full of gas and gas condensate and some LPGs. If you put it against the M25 in London, it runs up as far as Watford and all the way down to Basingstoke. It is an enormous field. It's about 80 kilometres, 90 kilometres long, and about 40 kilometres wide. So structurally, it looks enormous, and the gas in place there is, as I said, anything between sort of P50 around the 6 to 6.5 trillion cubic feet, P10 around 14 trillion cubic feet, and the whole value proposition, which is what we're looking to address now, is exactly how much of that can you recover. And we'll talk a little bit about the way the wells have behaved to date and what we expect to find going forward. Okay, as I said, major gas field, P50 or 6.1 TCF, anything from 570, 600 million barrels up to 2.8 billion barrels oil equivalent in place. The structures, as I discussed on the previous slide, you can see how small the additional 3 to 4 Devonian structures are relative to the Ain Silla structure itself. And down here you can see the totals insofar as gas is concerned. P90 of 3 trillion cubic feet, P mean of around 6.3, and P10 of 14.2. These are the wells that have been drilled on it. Again, this is the top of the ore division. We drilled 81, 82 and 83 earlier this year. We applied and did the various different drilling reports, etc. Got the permission from the host government to move forward into a 2-year appraisal program, and that's exactly where we are just now, just starting off on that piece. Is that my 10? Okay, moving swiftly along. the program we have is going to be it's a 4-well appraisal program, 2 vertical and 2 horizontal wells. And we touched on this in the last presentation as well. There's a reason why you do horizontal wells and why you frack them, and why that's going to be important in working out your overall cost to or optimal cost of recovering the gas from this field. We obviously want to do enough of that work before we go into field development planning and project management. First well, as I said, spudded on the 16th. The rig we have is a Middle Eastern Dalma rig, 2,000 horsepower. It's contracted for 4 wells. We'll most likely bring on a second drilling rig, because as you can imagine, in a 2-year program, you really want to get all your data up front so that you can do enough analytics on it in order to make yourself comfortable that you have the value proposition that you think you have. The other thing, which was common to both of the previous presenters, and we endorse it wholly, is the reliance on technology. We spent $20-odd million on a 3D wide azimuth survey over the entire northern part of this structure, and that's given us a lot more detail as to where to drill and what type of well to drill, and we'll talk about that in a few minutes. These are basically the various different objectives. We'll just flick through. The new wells that we're looking to drill, and you can